Hey everyone, this is Nick from NXT Plants. Today I'm going to be going over some beginner-friendly Anthurium and care advice. The way I've sort of picked the beginner-friendly ones based off of how easy they are to care for and how forgiving they are when you prop and do other things with them. I think I'm going to start with Papilla lamina. Here's a good example of a Papilla lamina. This is an RA5 self. See if the color of the back shows through. It is. Good example of a Lagogatan, ecotype of pap. There's two pap ecotypes. One's called Canal, after the Panama Canal, and this one's called Lago Yutan, which is the name of a lake in Panama. But beautiful dark foliage, very hardy. Here's another example. This is another Lago Yutan. This is the RA6. It is flowering. There's a flower out. So actually, as it switched to caterpillar, the leaf that came with caterpillar flowered, so it shows how vigorous and ready these plants are. Yeah, and I pretty recently propped this guy, cut off most of its roots, and it didn't skip a beat. It's still growing great, it's flowering. That's why paps are just such a good beginner-friendly species. And they do a lot of what people are looking for in Anthurium, since they have the dark foliage, long leaf blades, red backs, a lot of the time, not always, and good bumpy foliage. Here's another Lagogatan pap. This is my Voldemort self. This leaf's a little bit rough. It's had a bit of a challenge. Plant's also been flowering a lot, just got repotted. You can see the back of the leaf. It's got that gorgeous maroon color. And great texture, of course, on this. So I'm a pretty big pap fan. It was definitely one of those species that really sold me on Anthurium. I just think they're pretty wonderful. And another good thing about the paps is they breed really well. In my experience, they take about 3.5–4 months to berry. Usually pretty good yields if you use something in cardio. Great plants. Would highly recommend if you're starting out to start with paps. Okay, and then as I was saying, there's the other ecotype, which is the Canal. Here is my Fort Sherman self from J. Vanini. What remains of an inflow. I've been slowly harvesting it. I crossed it with SP Napo, so sort of making my own version of the Curandero. Yeah, this thing looks a little bit rough. It's done like 4 inflows or something in a row. It really needs to take a break from producing babies, and I'm going to do that once I finish harvesting this inflow. Also probably going to pot it down into something a little bit smaller now that I've gotten a few harvests I was looking to get out of it. But yeah, I really recommend both types of pap. They're both really vigorous, great growers, they breed well, beautiful, they get to a good size but not too big. Paps all around, really good beginner-friendly Anthurium. The next type of Anthurium I'd recommend are the pendant Anthurium. The two species I would suggest you start with are Pallidiflorum and Wendlingeri. I mean, or Vitarifolium, but I think it's less interesting than either Pallidiflorum or Wendlingeri, and no easier. Good thing is they're very, very... Pallidiflorum and Vitarifolium are extra cheap. Same with like a Bakeri or something. You can probably get them for free in your local group. Starting off, I'm holding a Wendlingeri. So this one has the pleating. It's not quite as velvet as the Pallidiflorum, but you get the texture that the Pallidiflorum doesn't get. It also has really nice corkscrew inflows. This thing gets huge. This is about full grown. It'll get a little bit longer, but not really much. And this plant is another one that responds really well to being cut, doesn't seem to mind, doesn't really stunt or shrink the growth at all. Another thing is about the pendants that's a little bit nice is they're a lot more forgiving on going dry than some of the other Anthurium. You don't get the browning edges at all from letting them go dry. Okay, and then the other one I was saying is the Pallidiflorum. Oh my gosh, I'm not, it's hitting the ceilings. I'm holding it up here. Again, beautiful thin strappy leaves. This one is like pretty close to velvet, but not quite velvet. What's nice about the Pallidiflorum versus the Wendlingeri is you can actually do a little bit of breeding with the Pallidiflorum in cardio, whereas with Wendlingeri that's not an option. All around, I would definitely recommend the Pallidiflorum and the Wendlingeri. I think both of them are stunning in their own ways, and there's definitely space in everyone's collection for both of them. And again, they're very, very easy, straightforward, forgiving of being propped, forgiving of going dry, all around just really solid starter Anthurium. Another Anthurium species I'd recommend is Carla Blackia. Just like pap, they're very quick growers. They have relatively thick leathery leaves. They seem to do okay with changes in conditions and whatnot, and I have let, not this one, but my other Carla go dry a couple times by accident, and it didn't seem to hurt the plant all that much. They have nice compact growth, short petioles. All around they're really good beginner-friendly Anthurium. Beautiful plants, they grow great. They mature very rapidly. I know people say they're not the fastest growers, but I think it takes them very few leaves to go from seed to flowering. So even if they're a little bit on the slower side, you get more maturity per leaf than a lot of other Anthuriums. They have really cute flowers, which is kind of nice. This one's got a nice little blush to it. This one right there, that thing, that poking out of the petiole. Yeah, definitely would highly recommend Carla Blackiae if you're starting out. They just need the general Anthurium care, which is a breathable substrate that can hold moisture without going anaerobic. They don't really want to dry out all that much, but they're definitely okay going a little bit dry. They don't really seem prone to any fungal issues, and they're decently easy to prop. So all around, would definitely recommend Carla Blackiae. Now pull out this other one. Another reason I'd recommend Carla is they breed really fast, and that makes it a lot of fun to make hybrids with them. This one, it's a little bit on the slow side for a Carla. I find it generally is about 10 weeks to the day. Some of the faster ones can do it in 8 weeks, but this one I find it's more like 10 weeks, and I don't mind that at all. That's still very fast. And again, beautiful, easygoing. One downside is their yields tend to be a little bit lower, usually around like a third of what a pap would be. But I mean, come on, look how beautiful they are. So yeah, definitely recommend Carla Blackiaes. Another one I'd like to talk about is the Rhodolantianum. If you're feeling a little more exotic and you want to hunt down something that a little less common, would definitely recommend the Rhodolantianum. It's a very hardy plant, great grower. I will insert pictures of my main one. This is just a small prop. Big one is like, gotta have both hands in frame. I don't even think. Way bigger than my torso. And it still has that great velvet and pebbly texture. Very easygoing, can cut it essentially rootless, and the thing has no problem continuing to grow and root. Only downside is they're a little bit slow, and the props take forever compared to other Anthurium props to activate. But once they're going, they build a huge root system and they really just take off. Definitely recommend Rhodolantianum if you're looking for something a little different. That isn't very challenging at all. Here's a bit of a different one. If you're a beginner, do not get a regale. I'll just say that. At least here in my climate, my experience with regales has not been very positive. I know they're often sold for really good prices by a lot of like the Ecuadorian exporters, but I just like would not recommend if you're a beginner getting a regale, unless you're okay with just a plant that essentially maintains one ugly leaf for quite a long time. Okay, another one that's a little bit different that I definitely recommend is the Radicans. Wow, is this plant ever hardy? Brought into the country, it was essentially rootless, and it was still flowering, growing new leaves, rooting all at the same time. I got it rooted and then I up-potted it, and when I up-potted it, I again chopped off all its roots and lower nodes. And again, the plant has held on to its flower. The flower has turned green. I don't know if it's going to give me anything viable or continue. I can't make any promises. I pollinated it with Wonder Boy a little over a month ago. And again, the plant has just rooted so beautifully all along its stem. And it's a fun one because it's going to be a little hard to see, but you can see the stem is just crawling along the surface of the pot. And not very many Anthurium are crawlers like this. The only ones I can think of off the top of my head are the Radicans and the True Bessier. But I'm a big fan of it. It's a little bit different from the Luxurians, but it still seems to be hardy and a good grower. So I'm very pleased with the Radicans. Would definitely recommend it if you can grab one. If you're looking for them, be careful. The majority of the things that are called Radicans out there are actually Radicans crossed with Luxurians. So just make sure you're getting one from someone you trust to be selling a pure one. The next species or cultivar I'd recommend are red crystals. Here we've got one from Tazula. This one has a red emergent stuff. If you're shopping for them, purple emergence is probably going to be easier for you to care for. That tends to be how they work. Pink and red are less common, and they tend to be a little bit runtier. So if you get a good growing one, that's a lot more rare. As purple tends to be the dominant color. And here's my purple one. Also happens to be a little bit higher vein. This one's also from Tazula. Red crystals all around, very good. Would highly recommend them. They are not true crystallinums. They're a little bit more of a complex hybrid. I was started using Tim Anderson's Wonder Boy. It was then bred down further by Doc Block. And then that's what a lot of our modern red crystals come from, is the Doc Block's breeding of Tim Anderson's Wonder Boy. So that's how you get things like the Tazula red crystals, the Scott red crystals, the SKG red crystals, the Doc Block Michelles, they're all sharing the same ancestry. Another species I'd recommend, and this is just a pure species, is Anthurium luxurians. I found it to be a very good goer. This one has a little bit more silver. They don't all do that. So definitely pick one which has a color you like. I don't know, what is there to say? It grows great, it hybridizes well, flowers pretty easily. Like it's flowering at this size, which isn't huge. It's not small, but it's not huge, and this is not its first flower. It's done quite a few before this. Yeah, would definitely recommend. Very hardy, beginner friendly, very accessible. Lots of people have them, lots of people breed with them. It's usually a sign that the plant is pretty easygoing and good option for when you're starting out. Then another one that I would recommend is Anthurium King of Spades. It's a hybrid from HU. I'd say it's really easy to grow. It's slow. If you prop it, it's even slower. However, it's very hardy. Definitely can just endure when you cut it irresponsibly or whatever. It's just slow. And it's been a bit of a challenge for me to get to flower. So far, it's rotted every flower it's tried. But it's not a hard plant to keep by any means. I have a couple others, and again, they're super easy as well. I'm going to try moving it into higher light, see if that helps the flowering, but otherwise I would totally recommend the King of Spades. Here is something I'd recommend. SP Napo or Nigrolaminum GG hybrids. They make some incredibly hardy, leathery Anthurium. So if you're looking for something easy, Jay Vanini calls them his Curandero series. Other people have bred with them. All of them tend to be incredibly hardy. We definitely recommend. This is Napo crossed with Dorito Port. Makes some nice hybrids. They tend to be a little bit Napo heavy, especially if the Napo's the mother, but you can get some really interesting combinations mixing them with cardio. So again, would definitely recommend Napo hybrids if you're starting out. These guys like are bulletproof even in ambient. They're all getting the same care. They're all finding either pon or some sort of aeroid mix. I've grown all of them in both. They're all in self-watering setups. There's nothing complicated about that. If you're just getting into Anthurium, I definitely recommend figuring out how to make keeping them consistently moist easy for you. For me, I found the easiest way is just to make a really airy, draining mix, throw a wick in it, and put it in a reservoir. That just makes my life easy. So it sucks a little bit having to buy the self-watering pots off of Amazon or Ali or Temu, wherever you get them, because it's not a 50-cent nursery pot, but the savings in one plants, because you won't be killing your plants as much, and two, just your time becomes so worth it, and it really makes the Anthurium care a lot easier. Yeah, like I know I said, I know I have quite the complicated nutrient solution and stuff. I'd say none of that is necessary for any of the Anthurium I've shown you. They all are very, very hardy and somewhat resistant to the effects of nutrient deficiencies. So I think as long as you're providing some form of nutrition, then there's so many different ways to do that, then I think most of these Anthurium will be pretty fine. Maybe the one exception to that might be King of Spades. At least this specific one I showed, it tends to struggle a little bit more with silica deficiencies. It gets some curling under of its leaves, but the rest of these I'd say are probably fine getting really whatever, and the complicated feeds just comes down to maximizing growth and berry potential. Okay, I'm going to do a little bit of a tangent here because earlier today I went to a local orchid show. So I just want to show some of the cute orchids I got. So I got a couple bulbophyllums and one dendrobium. I was trying to read the name. I can't really read this person's handwriting. I want to say it's Plumenthium or Plumethium. I'm not 100% sure. It's a little bit smudged out, but it's a cute little orchid. Got a Bulbophyllum Medusae. This thing has really funny looking flowers. They're kind of hairy. Then I got a Dendrobium Kingianum, and this is the white flower one. I'm very excited to give some of these a try. I believe the seller was saying this one's from Queensland. I don't remember the other two locales. I think Bulbophyllum is Southeast Asia. Trying out something a little bit different, going away from my obsession with New World species. But I saw both of the flowers of these because the seller had nice pictures of the flowers, and absolutely fell in love with the Bulbophyllums in this one. So I'm gonna give them a go. I think I'm gonna grow them in pond just like everything else. I was talking to the seller. She and her husband have a huge orchid growing facility, and they were saying that back in the day a lot of orchid growers grew in like pumice perlite mixes. So I figure my pond will be perfectly adequate for them. I'm not sure if I can give them a reservoir or not. I killed a previous orchid, I think, by keeping it too wet. So I'm going to be a little more careful with these guys. But I'm very excited. I will try and insert pictures of their flowers and what they look like, because I know it's just like green, nothing foliage. But I swear this channel is not going to become an orchid channel. I just like the occasional orchid. I can't help myself. Thank you guys for watching here to the end. I really appreciate it. Have a great rest of your day. Bye.